Joining us now from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, on where this election goes from here is John Merrill. He's the current Secretary of State from Alabama. Mr. Merrill, we've heard a lot in the last 24 hours about state process, the state process when something like this happens. It is true, is it not, that even if he steps aside, which he says he will not do, his name, Roy Moore's name, remains on this ballot?
That's right, Laura. Even if Judge Moore decides that he wants to disqualify himself and not continue his campaign, at that point, it will not matter. His name will still be on the ballot. Even if the Republican Party decided that they would not formally continue with their support of Judge Moore as their nominee, as it was confirmed to our office on October the 11th, Judge Moore's name will remain on the ballot for the 2012, for the December 12th, 2017 special general election.
And I understand that the governor today has entertained the idea of moving the election, but it was said that that would only take place if the White House gave its imprimatur to that move. Is that correct? Is that report correct?
Well, a number of those issues remain to be explored because our code is very clear about certain issues that need to be addressed when it comes to those actual actions that will occur. That is one that is still up in the air, but one that is certainly being explored.
Well, if in fact he does not step aside and there is a massive, like, Lisa Murkowski-style write-in campaign for, let's say, I don't know, Jeff Sessions or Mo Brooks. Jeff Sessions is the Attorney General, but maybe he goes back to be Senator. I'm just speculating. Or someone like a Mo Brooks. You'd have to be a name that everybody can remember because you have to spell the name correctly. You can't have any mistake in the name or the ballot is invalid. So if that write-in campaign happens, it would have to be overwhelming in order to swamp the Democrat, Mr. Jones, correct? And that would likely not happen.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it, because only two candidates appear on the ballot today, and those candidates are Judge Roy Moore and Doug Jones, who's a former federal prosecutor. And if a write-in effort takes place, then that write-in campaign and that educational process associated with that campaign is going to take a great deal of time, energy, and effort in order to educate our people on what they need to do about casting their ballot for someone that's not currently on the ballot.
And that's why you would need more time in order to get that word out, correct? That's why the election could be moved if indeed that ends up being the decision of the state party, which we haven't heard a lot from.
Well,
what is the state party saying here today?
Well, I think there are a number of conversations that are ongoing, but of course the state party's in a very difficult position as well as they try to determine what their intentions are and where they need to go. And I know that those conversations will continue to take place over the next few days, maybe even a week or so, depending on what other information is introduced next week as this saga continues.
Do you know Mr. Moore, Judge Moore?
I do know Judge Moore. Yes, ma'am. I've known him for some time.
What do you think about these allegations?
Well, I'm very surprised that this information has just been introduced. I think that's the most interesting part of it. To me, I think it's odd that these revelations have just been introduced, considering the fact Judge Moore has stood for election 8 times in our state for different offices. He's been a public figure for more than 30 years in the state of Alabama. And it's very difficult for a lot of people in our state to believe that because of his history and because of the controversy that has surrounded Judge Moore and his public service, that this type of information is only now being introduced by someone. Of course, these charges are very, very serious, and they need to be given the full measure of vetting that would be necessary to determine their validity. And I think that most of our people are still convinced that in order for someone to be removed from the ballot or to even remove themselves or to have the state party consider
He can't be removed from the ballot. That's the thing, and that's why the timing of this is interesting. He cannot be removed from the ballot.
But to disqualify, to disqualify themselves from consideration for people not to vote for them, because those names cannot be removed. We're within the 76-day window.
One more scenario, not to play like hypothetical here, but one more scenario. Let's say he does separate himself, or the Republican Party of the state separates itself from Judge Moore, and he also bows out. he still wins. Let's say he still has the most votes. That election is then null and void, correct? And the election results then go to the Democrat, correct?
No.
Oh, it doesn't go to anybody.
Judge Moore disqualifies, that is correct. If Judge Moore disqualifies himself, or if the state party rescinds their nomination and their endorsement of him, and if those activities occur formally, that means we receive information in the Office of the Secretary of State that would indicate that that is indeed the case, then at that point our election would be null and void, and we would have to hold a new election, and Senator Strange would continue to serve in that seat as the temporary appointment until another senator was duly elected and sworn in according to the Constitution.
That would be quite something. Oh, we really appreciate this. This is a complicated process. We appreciate it so much. Thank you.